the moment?
Fine. I think the meta's in a really good spot. Like, there's quite a few decks that are viable. It's not just like, I know Oldhim's the dominant. Not the top. It's not even dominant. Like it's the best deck, but it's not like Fi is not that far behind. It's not like Bri is that far behind. It's not like Oldhim has no counters out there, right? So I think it's in a perfectly fine spot, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, you say that. I think it's in an okay spot. I do think that, and I'm sure we'll come on to this in a little bit when we talk about obviously the ban and suspended update that we had. But I think there's some room for improvement in there. At the moment, Fi and Oldhim seem like the best decks in the format. I think the win rates and the stats kind of support that. So I think there's a couple of things that they could probably be touched on that would improve the meta. Like Belittle jumps out to me as Fi. It lets you win games that you should have no right winning. Your matchups that should be bad end up not being quite so bad because of that one card.
Well, it's interesting because Fi only won 2 Nats. Briar was Oldhim was by far and away the big winner with, like, say, 12. I think Briar's 7 then. Then it's interesting for me that it goes Ice Hero, Briar, and it's Icelander as another Ice Hero. It's, I know we sort of discussed potentially how the aggro decks are potentially coping with some of the more disruptive decks, because obviously I'm not sure really what type of Oldhims were actually winning, whether it was the more aggro stylies or the hold and bore you to death in an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's the thing with Oldhim, right? I mean, I think unless you see the deck list, you don't know what variety of list that it is. So it's hard to know what's winning.
Do you think that's one of the reasons they do so well? Like you can face an Oldhim and you genuinely don't know what flavour you're getting.
Yeah, I think the fact that they can. I think all the heroes have been historically been quite good when they can flex their game plan effectively, right? Like probably the best that Viserai was when he still had Skeletor and Sonata Arcanix combos and could destroy like fatigue decks just by being able to have one massive turn. So I think that kind of meant that he was and Oldhim's in a similar spot now, right? You can turn up and have, not to quite the same extent maybe, but you can have a very aggro match there. They're looking to just apply massive hit effects and never really want to block. And you can come in and miss sideboard completely because they could be actually trying to fatigue you and block you out. But I mean, I don't know why I'm talking so much. We've got an Oldhim expert in the room, so.
I mean, you just covered it off, George. It's like you know what you're talking about.
It's almost like I've played into him time and time again.
That's as close to a compliment as we're going to get on this podcast.
I know, right?
I know. I don't know how to take it, to be honest. So it's knowing what I'm talking about.
Take it as face value, It's a nice compliment for you, George. It's the only one you're going to get all week.
All week? Goodness me, I'd be so lucky.
Well, to be fair, it's Thursday, so there's not much of the week left.
Oh, yeah, true, actually. Yeah, I can look forward to one again next week, apparently. I'll be redeeming that voucher.
Just one a week.
I'll be here next week. Liam, I'm here for a compliment. Cheers, thank you.
Value.
Who needs enemies with friends like us? But
going
back to it, obviously, Liam, there's a reason you took fatigue, and obviously before we go into the banned and restricted banned and suspended, I keep calling it the wrong name. I assume you are the man when it's fatigue Oldhim, but have you heard much around what other Oldhims were kind of winning for the most part?
I think nearly every single Oldhim was the disruption Oldhim. It's the kind of like the breakout version of Oldhim from the Battle Hardened in America. The one that I think Ryan Rich piloted it to the win at the Battle Hardened. It's like this on hit disruption deck. It's not like it can't block, right? It's still able to block efficiently when it can do, and then just choose to pivot when it wants. So if you're not drawing handful of disruption, like your pummels, your spinal crushes, your Oakenholds, it just blocks and then just sets up turns where it can pivot, and then just like offload this mass amount of damage and mass amount of disruption to the point where you just cannot win the game. That's mainly no one plays fatigue but me. Like we'll clarify that. No one's mad enough to do it. Oh, and Tobias only because you spoke to me about it, but
You can claim that one, but it's one of those. I don't know whether people are too worried about going to time, because obviously I know it was a concern you had, which tends to be other players
It is
trying
a
to work
genuine
out how.
concern. It's a genuine
Well, I think
concern.
that's oftentimes, like, especially the ice areas. I know it's been a big problem locally with certain individuals called Ash playing Icelander, who often you are looking at the time going, this is going to go to time when you've got 20 minutes left and you just know how it's going to go. But
Poor
I
Ash.
wonder whether
I'll tell you what, he nearly got through it. I thought maybe we'd have one podcast where the guy doesn't get roped into, but apparently that wasn't going to happen. So if you listen, Ash, which I do know you do, we're sorry, mate. It's all good. But you do go to time, so hurry up.
But it's the sort of. I wonder if playing, obviously, Scott as well plays a lot of Icelander, and I know he's had to pre-warn people this is going to go long, you need to play quickly. So I wonder if, obviously, looking at the banned and suspended, obviously Icelander didn't get hit, and neither did Fi, as much as I think a lot of us were hoping for a Belittle or an Art of War ban. We didn't get it. But they did ban one card, didn't they, Liam?
The good old Pulse of Eisenloft.
Oh,
it was a sad day.
I hope we can get the video for this, because that's a sad face.
Wait, do you know how long it took me to get
face.
that goddamn call foil? And then as soon as I get it, they ban it. I played it for one event, the fuckers.
I was going to say, I think some context is required on that sadness, to be fair. I think that is mainly the cold foil, not so much the impact of the card being gone, which is something, but, it's the fact that the man's just got himself a very nice looking cold foil, and it is nice, to be fair.
It is very nice. No, I can't play with it.
All the pulses look pretty nice in cold foil, to be fair. I really like Volthaven, but...
I'll tell you, we'll get your two opinions on the pulse ban.
Go on then, Bruce.
I was surprised. I thought they were going to hit Oldhim, and I thought they were going to do something about Fi or Belittle, just because things get thrown into the deck. I actually quite like it as a ban. It doesn't seem as heavy-handed as banning something like Crown of Seeds, which I know was kind of one we mentioned, whether they ever want to ban a legendary in CC or not. Obviously, they've done that in Blitz, and we'll come on to a bit more about Blitz in a minute. But I like it. It's the easiest way of using Oakenhold, and that second cycle. It's the easiest way of getting his defense react, because obviously you get the put a card on top of the deck and the 2-block. And if you need to, also it's just a big old 6-block, which someone might use to stop a ghostly touch. So I, as a ban, I quite like it, but I don't know how impactful that's actually going to be to the overall game plan, outside of obviously making it just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I think I could go with that. I mean, particularly for the aggro builds now, I'm not sure. I mean, like I say, I'm no great Oldhim player, but I'm not sure how much it really impacts them. I think it hits the fatigue strategy more than it hits the aggro, which seems to be the prevalent one, as Liam was saying before. I think for them, yes, it means it's more difficult for them to fuse their Oakenhold, and definitely more difficult for them to do it on cycle 1, where they just draw into it and happen to see an Oakenhold with a pulse. But I think for the aggro decks, I don't think it's the biggest ban. I don't suspect that we'll see people just completely dropping off Oldhim, which is kind of what I was hoping they were going to ban something and that we are going to see a bit of a drop off in that. But yeah, I don't think it'll be as impactful as I'd like it to have been with the ban to shake the meta up a bit. Though, to be honest, I think the bigger crime in that is not doing something to hit the other side of the meta, the aggro side with Belittle.
Go on then, Big Sauce, as our expert.
Expert. I don't know, I think... So some people was asking me about, like, what would you ban as Oldhim that isn't Crown of Seeds? And to be honest, I never had an answer. But Pulse seems like a fairly reasonable hit, in my opinion. I think, like George said, it affects the fatigue game plan quite a bit, because Pulse, you tend to see it like 3 times. So you can pitch it to the old and D-React, and then you can play it out. So it ends up being like 10, 12 value over a course of a game. If you include the card that it strips from hand, it's even more. It impact the aggro deck slightly because it stops the frequency of first cycle Oakanodes. Like, not saying it's not possible to just draw a blue and Oakanode, draw an AF card and an ice card, but the pulse made it more possible quickly. Like the variance was higher, so I think it takes away from the aggro game plan. It's less fusing, so I think it's a decent hit, to be honest. It also, the aggro deck wants to strip cards and block at the same time, and Pulse allowed that because you could just dereactive Oldhim, strip a card away, which like against fire would block for 4, and then it would block 2 as the earth side of the dereact, and then that allowed you to keep cards in hand to apply pressure with like Spinal Crush and stuff. So I think it's a decent hit. I think it affects Oldhim more than people think, but it isn't big enough for what people wanted. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't cripple the class. It feels a bit like when, probably a little bit more impactful than Starvo when they banned Autumn's Touch.
Yeah, Autumn's Touch was a 9 of in Starvo, right? So like that's kind of, it was a 9 of all 3 block. Let's strip it away. Where the Pulse is obviously just a 1 of, but he's far more impactful than always Touch Watch in Starvo. So.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I don't think. I obviously get that you lose a fair bit of value from not having it in the deck, but I don't think it hits the intrinsic problem that we kind of touched on, I think, earlier. At least for me with Oldhim, is that he can defend so effectively even on the aggro plan that it just makes him an incredibly difficult nut to crack. Like if he doesn't have to worry about consistency on the aggro, right? Particularly now that I think Terra Sunder is one of the biggest defenders for this. It allows him to threaten with a whole blue hand and offer a very good output. It's like that becomes a problem. There's very few ways an Oldhim player at the moment, it feels like, can miss in aggro. Apart from drawing a hand of all reds, there's just not a lot. And their ability to block then allows them to, even when they do that, is just makes it effective. Crown of Seeds just allows you to be so effectively defensive that you can just wait till your good hand comes. And I think that's the intrinsic problem, and I don't think banning Pulse solves that.
This is the point I was making, that I think Pulse is effective, but not as effective as some people want it. And obviously, I think you personally wanted a little bit more of a harsher ban. You wanted the Crown of Seeds ban, right?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I mean, to your obviously the question you say, you've been asked before, what could you ban that's not Crown of Seeds? Honestly, I don't think there's anything you can ban that isn't Crown of Seeds, because I think everything synergizes so incredibly well with Crown of Seeds, and with that ability to have the spare resources floating, all these what should be costed defense reacts don't cost you anything because you've just pitched a card and have 2 resources floating. So you block 1 with a card that you replace, and then get the ability for a free staunch, or for the shield to make it 2, and even if you're not paying for anything else, it just all combos so. And now Oasis as well just makes it ludicrous. But yeah, it all combos so effectively well. I think the linchpin of all that is Crown of Seeds, and if you take that away, make them actually pay the cost that they should be paying for this, I think it makes it a significantly fairer game. So yeah, for me, it would have been. I think the only thing that would have really gone far enough would have been the Crown ban.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, would Seeds if you banned Crown of Seeds though, would that kill off Oldhim? Is that almost too harsh?
No, I don't think it would. I don't think it would have killed him off. I think people have gone back to the start and started again, because Crown Rampart was a fundamental build around, like my deck was, right? I had the Blues Brothers, the Oasis, the Staunches, Rampart, Crown, all synergized together. Like George said, when you pitch in a blue, you Crown, like you swing like if you're swinging a Dawnblade for 5. And you want to do the +3, it goes to 8. Like Red Staunch and Crown covers that perfectly.
Yeah.
And it only cost me.
I know. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, also it cost me the Staunch and the pitch, right? And then I can do stuff with the cards I left in my hand. So I think if they ban Crown, it comes. So I think there's 2 ways of going about it, in my personal opinion. You can go one way with. You can stick on the fatigue plan, but instead of playing Crown of Siege, you play Coronet Peak. So the idea is to. So you will be saving your arsenal for like D-reacts and stuff, and you'll be Coronet Peaking to make it easier to block on their turn by stripping a card away before their turn. and then you can like pressure with like hammer sometimes. You can coronet peak until out of red cards, and then eventually you just kill them. So it's kind of similar, but a bit of a different way. Or they go aggro into the like Crown of Providence, Skullcap, into Tectonic Plating, and they give up the tunic, and then they start reducing, like making Oakenall cost 2, Endless Wonders making them cost 3, and then going in like a more of an aggro plan. So a bit like Bravo, the way Bravo performs is the block 3, and then like dominate an attack kind of thing. I think it'd go like that.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. I think that would help fix things as well, just because you'd obviously with that you've got to have kind of different setups for both possible plans, right? Where I think at the moment is the trouble is that both of those fit into the same shell of a deck list right now, which allows the flexibility.
Yeah, it'd be hard to fit both an aggro and a fatigue plan in that style of deck because it'd require a lot of equipment spaces and then a lot of sideboard cards that you don't really want to play some cards in the fatigue deck that would be in the aggro deck. You know, there's like not a lot of crossover, I think. I mean, who knows? I'd have to try and build that kind of stuff, but I don't think it'd be very good.
So now thinking about, I was going to say, because now thinking about Worlds, and obviously that's it now. This is the meta we're going to have, or say the meta, this is how it's going to be. Also, Oldhim was the deck to beat, and obviously he's the only one that got hit. Fi, he's got nothing. Brian, nothing. Icelander also didn't get anything.
Belittle and War should have got hit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. I think Belittle is just. I think it just allows them to play around things they shouldn't be able to play around as an aggro deck.
Yeah, I definitely think at the very least Belittle should have got hit. I wouldn't have been sad to see an out of war ban. I think that would have been being too hopeful, maybe, but and maybe both would have been a bit too harsh on some of the aggro decks and Fi. I mean, definitely would have been if there hadn't been anything from the Oldhim side as well. If you'd have seen Crown in those two, I think I'd have been fine with that, or just Belittle and Crown, fine.
You could have done a triangle, right? You could have hit the Belittle and the Outer War, because the Outer War is what's out trying to what's doing the turns against Oldhim, and Belittle's doing the turn against Icelander. So then if you hit Oldhim with the Crown of Seeds, and then you hit Icelander with a card that's very precious to her that doesn't affect anyone else, like Lexi or Oldhim, that way.
I think that might be the trouble, though. I'm not honestly sure what you hit with Icelander that doesn't destroy her as a deck right now. I'm not sure the pool for her is big enough that you could pick an integral card that wouldn't just wreck her as a deck. But I mean, I'm willing to be talked out of that one, but I don't think there's anything that comes to mind for me.
It sounds like a question for Mr. Minds.
It does. Why is he not here right now? We'll have to play that.
Well, I've not been able to rope him back in. He's escaped after being on for like nearly 2 weeks in a row. But yeah, I don't know what he'd hit in Icelander that had really, without absolutely killing her,
and also without hitting the other ice decks as well, right? Like, I think we all saw the faked banner suspended that came out before, where they were trying to claim a Channel 8 frigid ban, and I think although that's a card that gets a lot of hate, I don't think it's necessarily a good ban shout. I think it's a fairly fair card in some of the decks. It's rough, but it's a very powerful card, and that's kind of what it's meant to be. I think also you'd hit a lot of other people with that as well. There's a lot of decks. Any ice deck will want to play that.
Do you think Insidious Chill would have been too harsh?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I think it probably just makes it some matchups unwinnable, though, right? For Icelander at that point. I think some of the really blue heavy decks, I'm not necessarily too sure how you beat those without Insidious. Maybe you just have to rely on amulets, which just seems like a bit of a tough game plan to enact. But yeah, I mean, maybe that would have been the way to go. I don't think we had enough time with Icelander to really know what to hit with her, to be honest.
Yeah, like I say, I think Insidious feels like it'd just be too harsh. I think it
fair.
Makes some of the, like I say, especially into Oldhim. I don't know how she wins that without Insidious Chill Frost Hex turns.
Yeah,
so
whether
taking away that win con. Yeah,
whether it be enough by itself, I don't know.
I was just trying to think of ideas of where you could hit her without killing her, but the only other idea that comes to mind is like trying to, I don't know, like Ice Vein's the card that does it for me. I think
It is, but unfortunately, I just think if you hit that, I think the deck's dead. I think if you
not entirely. Maybe you can like
no.
one color, two colors.
You see, that was going to be the suggestion, right? But like, we've never seen them do that yet. We don't even know if that's something that they've necessarily even considered, is just banning a certain color from of card.
Yeah.
If that is the case, then maybe that's fine. But maybe like if they just hit the yellows, for example, to stop people loading up on the maximum number. I think if you hit the reds or the blues, it's just a bit.
Yeah, because I know Scott was. I think he did it in one of his videos where he's talking about obviously he wasn't keen on the yellows, but just seeing so many people running them because it gives them another target if they're playing against Dromai. It allows them to kill off Themai, for example.
He is now. He's so high.
Yeah, he's very high on it now. But obviously, I know initially he said that in a video. He was surprised at how much higher he is on it now, having seen what other people are doing during Nats.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, even as a very rookie Icelander myself, I think I don't know where I wouldn't begin building an Icelander deck right now without chucking in 9 copies of Ice Vein, just because I don't know, it always feels so good. I don't think there's a build where or a matchup where it feels particularly bad. You're just happy to. It doesn't matter if it's a yellow one. You're happy to just throw that at them for 4 on the whole.
So this is our meta. So what do we think's top? Do we think the band's knocked Oldhim off its perch? We'll see 112. Brian 107.
Liam's the man to answer that one, right?
No, he's not going anywhere. Let's be honest.
No, I don't think so either.
I think once people just find out like how much the lack of the ice and earth card ratio messes up, like it's just reducing one, but obviously they're coming together. Maths needs to do its thing, but I think people will find a perfect ratio to just make sure that deck is fine. Probably just a lot of people just probably put an earth card in there and see how it goes.
I also think as much as that card is very good and it's obviously value over the long course of the game, we're seeing a lot more aggro Oldhim, which means they don't see as much of the deck, and all you've actually done is hit one card in their 60. And there'll be games where they don't see it, which they still win, and there'll be games where it didn't matter what it was because they just pitched it. So those games are unaffected because you haven't actually hit a card. You've hit just the one card out of that 60, and I don't think that's enough to knock him off the top spot yet.
Do we think anything else will change? Obviously, I know Fi only converted in the UK and Thailand. Obviously, George Roger did it here. I'm surprised that Fi only won 2.
I mean, yeah, that's the key thing, right? Surprised that Fi only won 2. Like in the battle hardened, Fi out of top, like in the top 8. Was it the last battle hardened? Is it Minneapolis or something like that? Like the deck's really good. It counters both ice decks because, well, it counters Oldhim because of the Art Ward. That's the turns that send it over if he wants to block. So Oldhim has to pick his spots and be disruptive. The Belittle counters Icelander, and then the deck can switch into like Kadachi's Mask and Momentum and then just rip through aggro decks because aggro decks don't want to block it. And then Fire just presents 1 million damage. So the deck's very, very scary.
I mean,
even though it's got game plans, right? Different ones, like you say, there's Kadachi builds, there's Ember Blade builds. It's got flexibility in it. It's looking very powerful at the moment. I'm surprised that we didn't see more wins. I think there's builds out there, and I think there's been evolutions on the early deck lists that now look like they can counter Oldhim effectively. And I think maybe the national championships have just been that we haven't seen that filter through to the entire kind of worldwide meta yet. Maybe once those start getting around more, people feel more comfortable on the hero, I think we'll probably see the number of wins for Fi go up for tournaments on the whole.
And having played against the Kadachi Fire is terrifyingly picture blue. It's like the old Katsu of when do you block, except they can quite easily get to Chainlink 6. I saw people running Tome of Firebrand again because they get to the rupture point so much quicker because they go Kadachi. That they can actually just draw another 2.
Like Katsu rather felt a bit fairer because if you could block him out, you could often stop stop his turn, because if he doesn't have the next combo card, that's it. It's probably his last attack of the turn, right? He can't go and tutor it out. Therefore, his turn stops after the next attack. That's it. Done. You block at the right time. You shut him down. That's just not the case for Fi. He just keeps going. Just the combat change. He's going to go to the length it's going to go, and unless you've got an ice rep like Oldhim, you're just going to block it and decide how much damage you want to take.
That's the thing. I think as soon as you start taking damage, I had it against Jacob in the last game. As soon as you start taking damage, you just never seem to stop because you don't have enough health to be able to pivot effectively, because you just leak and then it's a flood and then you're dead. So
yeah, I think
do you think
that's the thing, right? Like an average fight turn, you should always leak damage. That's just the pain of Phoenix Flames, is that you should always be leaking 1 or 2, even if you block with your whole hand, even if you're blocking with equipment. The chances are you're gonna leak a damage here or there on a good turn.
So I think for Worlds, I would not be surprised, even though, like say, he only won 2 Nats. If a Fi won it, or it could be one of the many Icelanders that are now getting played. I think I like the place that the meta's at. I thought the meta was in a decent place beforehand. If they hadn't banned anything, I wouldn't have been surprised. From a meta standpoint, I think they always want to try and do something just to shake it up before Worlds. Because I think, what was it they banned before PT1? That was the Autumn's touch ban, if I'm not mistaken. Like they tried to do something just to shake up the meta just beforehand.
That sounds about right. It felt like they were always going to shake it up, right, with that one. It was either going to be Starvo LL and that was going to be the shake up, or they were going to ban something, which they did in the end. Which is why I'd claimed before this one, I think in the last podcast, that it wasn't the right question of whether the meta was balanced. It was more a case of they wanted to shake things up, and I think it was the right thing. I think that's what they've aimed to do, and I think we'll cover that a bit more in Blitz. But yeah, whether it was the right ban, we'll find out. I think it's they've looked at the data and I think they believe it's right, but I'm not actually sure that the national championship season was a good representation of what the meta's like. I think that becomes because the vast majority were mixed format, particularly the bigger ones, and therefore there will have been players that were knocked out because they had a bad draft. And I think Worlds will be the same to some extent, right? It's not just a CC tournament.
No, you've got
exactly mixed formats. So I think that'll be a big part of it.
Well, that's the thing with Worlds. Obviously, you do have Blitz, and if we didn't think the shake up was big enough for CC, I think they certainly made up for it in Blitz with the bans, because they just decided to take Wizard out behind the shed and just shoot it.
I mean, let's be fair. They went across the board here, right? They just decided to mix things up, and goodness me, didn't they just?
It's so good.
I mean, so just to give everyone listening maybe hadn't seen it, obviously Bloodsheath Skeletor was banned, Muscular Pouncing Lynx banned, Storm Striders suspended until the next banned and suspended, and then they brought back Sonata. So make of that what you will, chaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most surprising one's probably the Process Star, right? I would have not predicted in any amount of time that Storm Striders would have been their hit there. Not to say it isn't broken in Blitz, because it's insane in Blitz. But I don't think anyone imagined a world where Wizard would be without Storm Striders, and where they'd be at, and how effective that deck is. But yeah, they've done it, and I guess we'll see what people cook up and whether it ends up still being people's choice for a Blitz list.
Well, I know DM Armada did his thing, saying, "No, it's fine. You get rid of Storm Striders, so you can't do the Aether Wildfire out of Arsenal, play a card from hand kind of shenanigans. It's fine. They still got Stir Forked. Oh no, wait, they still not got Stir back. So I think the thing with Storm Striders was it gave, if Wizard went first, went second, they can have 3 turns for free effectively, which Wizard often doesn't need 3 turns to kill you, especially when you're only on 20 or around 20 life. So, I mean, I was surprised that they went that hard, though. I never thought they'd take out Storm Striders.
No, I didn't think at all. And I mean, I think it's possible that Kano still has some explosive ability that means he's playable. I don't know what this does to Icelander though. It seems very harsh on her to take away her late game win con. I'm sure people will be cooking up the decks to see if that's still viable for them. But yeah, it does seem like it's maybe took that deck out a little bit out of contention. It's definitely, I don't think it's the best deck in the format anymore, which I think it arguably was before the ban and restricted.
I mean, as a bit of a warrior player, anything where wizards get killed and I can just play and I can have my. I'm a selfish man. I want my turn and I want it to be my turn. I don't want our turn. They can fuck off. I just want to play my cards and go, I'm presenting lethal and not expect to suddenly be killed back. I always hated it. I know the old Magic lot love it because that's kind of more their gig, but I just hate going on my own turn.
Yeah, sadly, I think that'll still happen to you. It just won't happen anywhere near as consistently, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I was thinking it was the consistency of it.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. It's as soon as you were 10 life or below, you were like, okay, I could die to a light breeze and storm striders here. This is just doesn't really matter what they flip off the top of the deck. I'm pretty buggered. So, but yeah, it's
that moment the Storm Striders play Aether Wildfire and go, well, that's GG. You don't even know. Like I say, they have to. A blue zap kills me, and I'm like, why blue zap hit me for 7? This isn't fair. But yeah,
Spell Void is your friend, Brooks. Come on, you're one of the only few people I know who actually owns those cards. Get them out of the binder.
Yeah. I do own. I am that chump who always buys the blitz decks, in spite of buying like 2 cases worth of cards, just so I can make sure I get all the equipment.
And Liam thanks you for it.
To be fair,
everyone laughs at me and then go.
Yeah, they are out the binder. They're in my deck.
Yeah, but it's just funny that everyone laughs at me for buying them and then goes, "Oh, can I borrow that Spellfray clothes?" Like, fuck off.
No idea. It's just
but yeah,
could never be me.
No, I mean, no. I know I've never asked, so yeah, I presume it has to be Liam.
But then obviously, Fi got a big slap with the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx.
Yeah, this one probably more expected. I mean, I wouldn't have predicted it'd be Pouncing Lynx, but I think it does the job and probably hits a deck that needed it in a way that I think is probably quite proportional. I actually quite like this band, to be honest with you.
I mean, does it not just completely shaft Benji? Not that many people play Benji.
It does shaft Benji, but I don't really think Benji was that viable anyway. And I'm sure I'm annoying somebody out there who was really high on a Benji Blitz deck, but I think there was too much armor block in the world that Benji just wasn't making waves anyway.
No,
Benji is coming after you, mate.
That's it. You wait. Next time on Talishar, people are gonna be just hunting me down with Benji Blitz decks.
Fucking 7 Archer coming after you.
And the battalion of Benjis. And then
if only I had some armor block in decks like Kasai or whatever.
Yeah. Imagine you can actually play that. Oh, I can just use my nice equipment suite and not worry about fucking wizards. And obviously, speaking of arcane fuckers, Sonata came back, but they got rid of Skeletor, so they can't do completely stupid shit. It just feels like you can't have them both in a meta and it be fair and reasonable.
Yeah, I think as long as one comes in, the other's got to go out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously Skeletor's the problem. Like we said a long time, I've always said this. Adam's gonna be fucking crying when I say this, but Skeletor was the problem and not Sonata. But even just in the standard Briar list, when you're running Skeletor and Vexing Quillhand is an insane combo because you can just if your hand is literally Red Earth or Surge CNC, it's crack Vexing, crack Skeletor, play them both for free. So you present 11, destroy your arsenal just because of that one piece of equipment, and it blocks for 10.
I was going to say it blocks for 2 as well, right? And you can still use the effect, which is insane.
Yeah. So Skeletor's a pretty busted piece of equipment, and it probably should be on. To be fair,
well, it was you had that encouraging crew, didn't you? As the 2 real offenders of.
Yeah, I mean, Courage is absolutely fucking insane, but I can only imagine that some poor warriors started crying if we banned that one.
I was going to say, is Brooks just advocated for a Courage of Bladehold ban?
No, I'm saying courage is good. It's just the rest of our cards are shit. That's not true. But
That's not even remotely true.
No. I think we don't do quite as egregious things. I think there's a difference between me swinging the Dawnblade for free versus getting hit by an Earthlaw Surge CNC or those stupid turns where they've got like 5 rune chance and you just know that you're dead.
This is what you need the meme now, where it's like Courage of Blade hold Dawnblade swing for free, Skeletor paying for the Earthlaw Surge and CNC. It's like practically the same thing. I need that meme.
Yeah, it's the same picture.
It's the same thing.
I mean, it's not because it's usual.
Yeah, you say that, mate. I've taken a lot of damage off some glistening steel blade turns of late. So I mean, that card's been pretty fucking bonkers. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, you have to spend 20 quid to get hold of one, or for your sins, buy the classic battles, and get a solitary copy every time you do it.
I was going to say buy 2 of the buggers, or 3 if
yeah.
the season.
Yeah, it's one of those. I would play 3, but I've still not got round to buying a 3rd copy yet. Because I know the minute I buy that 3rd copy, they will release it in the set, and then because I'm a magpie, I'll need to buy it in foil. And I'll just feel sad that I spent 20 quid on non-foils per card. But hey ho, that's my problem for being a magpie, which is nice to know it's affected other people as well in Manchester. Everyone wants to have the foily deck. But no, I think
the blitz bans have been there, and I mean, how do we think they'll affect the meta? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think Wizard's gone.
Brooks. Go on, Brooks.
Yeah, I think Wizard's gone, which is wonderful. I think Stormstride is such a big hit to them that if you are Kano, you are pretty much having to play off the top. So you're gonna have to set up the old school way of potions and deja vu and ragamuffins, and hope that you hit the right stuff off the top. If you can't get to that setup, Fi obviously gets a big hit with Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. I quite like it. Like I say, that's just because I fucking hate Wizard, and I won't pretend it's anything else.
He's honest.
He's honest about his biases.
If I was a Wizard player, I'd be gutted, but fuck him.
Go on, George.
They've toasted me too many times.
Yeah, like I said, I think I mentioned kind of when we talked through it the first time. I mean, the Bloodsheath Skeletor Sonata ones, that makes perfect sense to me. I think they've now hit the right side, and the 2 are never going to exist together. That's fine. Mask, I think, is great. Stormstriders does seem incredibly tough for Wizard players to swallow. I could have understood a few other cards being gone, or just them banning Aether Wildfire, because that card's crazy to exist in Blitz. But to hit their Striders seems rough. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that come back after Worlds once the next ban and suspended list comes around.
Do you think it would have been fairer to ban Wildfire over Stormstriders?
Fuck them.
I mean, I ban both, but again, I'm not a pretend I'm not biased.
I mean, you'd ban the Wizard class Brooks, to be fair, if you thought you could get away with it.
He's thinking, don't you think about it? There you go.
Exactly, there we go. I don't know why he was taking so long to say, I know he'd ban the Wizard class.
Oh, it's just I just don't want to upset Charlie too much.
Oh, that's fair, to be fair. That guy don't have to play anything but Wizard.
I mean, he's going to be sat on a flight with you boys for like 11 hours, so I was trying to save you some...
he doesn't have to
save
play
you at least an hour.
He's not playing Blitz, he's fine.
This is true. You can still use him in the CC, though.
Yeah, and he's not playing the Worlds tournament anyway, so he doesn't have to play Blitz. He's all good.
There you go. Yeah. See? Easy.
So has the banned and suspended changed anything for you boys and what you're thinking for Worlds?
For Blitz?
For Blitz and CC?
I think
you can keep things secret.
No, it changes a lot of things, I think. Because the Skeletor ban was good for... As much as it was... The Skeletor ban was good for people to not get comboed stupidly. I actually think it helps Kasai because it removes that solid chest piece that was blocking the first Saber. Because like Chain was actually using Skeletor over Husk because it's like slightly more efficient. You can get duped out by reactions on Husk and stuff like that. I think the Sonata coming back doesn't make a difference. because Skeletor doesn't exist. It's just a non-attack action that Briar and Chain can play if they want to. I don't think I would. I don't think I'd change my Briar deck if I was to play Briar again. I think I played without Snarl last time. I wouldn't play with Snarl again. Storm Striders is massive because I think it opens up Rune Blades further and the aggro decks further because they don't have to pack Spell Void and AB in their list because aggro decks don't tend to want to pitch for AB in the first place, so they won't play it. So it's whether or not the Wizards go, no one's going to play AB because they think Wizard doesn't exist anymore, and then they bring Wizard anyway and still act like normal.
It's that classic Wizard thing. They're the most dangerous class in the world when everyone writes them off.
Exactly.
Because everyone stops, and then because you can't block them.
And obviously,
yeah, for certain. I think for me as well, I think the only one thing is that I think the Storm Striders ban is huge for Kasai too, for me. I think her worst matchup by far and away was Wizard. She's such a tightly costed deck of getting that second swing free. Everything operates off a yellow at the worst. And it's just, I think the fact that they're now, whether they're gone or not, debatable, but the fact that they've taken a big hit has got to be good for her, I think. Makes it possibly a deck. And to be honest, any change that makes Kasai more viable for me, I think is fun. Not because I necessarily want to play Kasai, I just think she's the fairest blitz deck around. And I think one of the more fun ones to play, to be honest.
Yeah,
one thing that might make people upset, people like you, Brooks, that because Wizard doesn't exist quotation marks, that Fatigue Oldhim might be back. Because he can play defense actions without getting punished now.
Yeah.
That is true. Whether he can actually outlast the aggro decks without Crown, I don't know. But obviously that's still being suspended in Blitz. I haven't tested that enough to know if that's viable.
Confirm is definitely a thing.
Well, I think I'd like to say anything. I'd echo what George said. I think Kasai is the fairest Blitz hero. She does some broken stuff, but she has to get to 6 copper to do it. She has that one shot with the courage as well, and then obviously then tries to finish people off with the attack reactions. But I think anything that kind of makes her fairer, I'm
you don't have to get
always
to 6, right?
Well, no, but 6 turns on all 3 modes of both sabers.
Yeah, I mean that's just.
If you're not above 4 copper, I mean, are you even really on a blood and a hands turn? I mean, at that point, it's just a bit.
If you don't have 6 copper,
before that.
Are you really playing Kasai?
I said 3. If you don't have above 3, I mean, once you get to 4 or 5, you can get away with a half decent turn, right? But if you're going off much before that, I think you're not.
4's the minimum. I've seen whenever I played the Kasai mirrors in Madrid, if someone went off on 3, I was feeling really good. I can block this out. It's fine. But obviously, it's something for you boys to worry about. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend Worlds as I initially thought, which is a real shame. But it does mean that one of you two does have to win it, or Scott. We'll give Scott a chance as well.
Or
as soon as I'm not there. Or Scott.
I'm sure he'll be glad to know that he's now allowed to win Worlds now that you're not attending.
Yeah.
It's very generous.
If I'm there, I was going to win it, right? So. I'm just going to swing Dawn Blades at faces. Not that I was ever going to play Dory.
The world will sort of breathe a sigh of relief, mate, now that you're not going then in that case.
Oh, man. Oh, Dory. I'd still do it. But obviously we did think going on to, obviously, some of the things we might get at Worlds in terms of spoilers. It seems spoiler season has begun a little bit early.
Yeah, rather impromptu start, right, to spoiler season. It just kind of came out of left field today, but...
And it wasn't just left field. It was, I think you messaged me say, have you seen there's a spoiler coming out in about 5 minutes? To which I was surprised. And
Brooks, wait, how were you surprised at that? You were involved in the Discord discussion after I posted the original link at about 10 o'clock.
A lot's been going on in my head, George, I'll be honest.
Fair enough, mate.
I've not been getting... Literally, I get out of bed, I look at my thing, I put it down, I go back to bed because I'm absolutely drained at the moment, and I just forget what's gone on. But,
speaking of this spoiler, Brooks.
Yes.
I feel like I'm gonna link this in with. I'm gonna be really smart. I'm gonna link this in with vexing malice because that's the way it's gonna go.
It's gonna end up there.
How great was that spoiler?
And that's the end of the podcast for the day.
I think it might be the end of the podcast forever, the way Liam's going.
Yeah. It's a good job. He can get away with this shit now. He doesn't know he's not have to spend 11 hours sat next to me on a plane. But obviously, for those who didn't see it, we also got the Merciless Battle Axe, a warrior two-handed axe, which I definitely called, by the way.
You did. I think there's evidence of that in our previous episodes that you many times have called the fact we've got a two-handed battle axe, two-handed axe coming.
And it's a 3 attack, once per turn, 3 cost, because that's nice and fine for a 3 attack weapon. Whenever Merciless Battle Axe attacks, if its attack is greater than twice its base attack, this attack gains a brand new keyword of Overpower. This can't be defended by more than 1 action card. So, in how Liam's been doing it this evening and pushing it onto me and you, what do you boys think first?
Okay. Professional, I like
it. I like he's about to argue that and gone, oh yeah, that's fair. I've done that twice.
I mean, it's fine.
Go on then. You see the highest on this card at the moment. Tell us why it's great.
I mean, it's not.
It sounds like you finally come around to our way of thinking, mate, to be honest with you.
I was seeing it before this one afternoon, and I was like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. And then the more I played them hands up my head, I'm like, this is fucking shit.
Yeah, I think to be fair, for any listener here, that if you're for some reason still listening at this point, some context here. When we first saw this, I think Brooks and I both had the reaction of this is shit. This is not looking good. Maybe we'll get some more support and it will become playable. But right now it looks crap. Liam, on the other hand, defending it into the ground, was like, no, this is really good. There's loads of potential here. No, there was literally, I would play this at an armory if they would let me play it, before the release comes out with existing cards.
To test it, to see how good it is, or how bad it is.
Obviously, I defend the Dawnblade to the hilt, no pun intended, but I'm sorry, but I just can't. If this gets enough support, they'll need a new piece of equipment, which is going to make this cost less, because how the deck will have to be structured to get this to base 7, well, to an attack of 7, so you get this baby version of Dominate. Like, paying 3 for that, and there aren't many, you'd have to pump it twice. I just can't see it, and have 2 blues. It's such a very different deck.
Honestly, I think the weakest point of this weapon for me is the fact that if you have to block, if you force the block, or if even a card is taken out, I mean, if one card's taken out of your hand, in all likelihood you're not going to be able to trigger the overpower condition on it to be able to get it to twice its base with the current cost curve of buffs for warrior. You're going to need 2 cards. That's going to be probably a 1 cost and 1 cost. Maybe if you're lucky, a 0 cost and a 1 cost, and then have to swing this. So that's 5 pitch. And 3 cards before you're even doing anything. And then in the worst case scenario, if you have to block, you're using a blue for 3, which is just bad. It's a bad rate. Your opponent drops 1 card in front of it, and now they've got a 3-card hand to hit you back with, which just is gonna seem rough.
Just play Rainbow Sharp and Steel.
Well, yeah,
that's a terrible take from Liam.
You're going to have to play Rainbow Sharp and Steel. And what sort of world are we living in where that's what you've had to resort to? Because you can't really use attack reactions, because that completely negates the point. We're going into vexing malice here, and I don't give a fuck. He can fish, and he's got me, because it got me when I saw it. It's just
easy fishing, to be fair.
What they'd have to do is create more cards like Spill Blood, which are axe specific. So otherwise, if you're getting a +4 pump for something like 1, you're looking at something like a Plough Through, which gives +3 for 1, and if they defend with an attack action card, it goes to 4. You're going to have to get cards like that are specific for axe. Because otherwise, why would you ever run the axe over the Dawnblade? It's literally 3 for 1 or 3 for 3.
Can we address the irony as well of the fact that they've given the first axe in the game like you say, a baby dominate effect, a strictly worse dominate effect, when the only axe support card we currently have is Spill Blood, which gives dominate innately. So, for some reason, they decided to do that.
It's not the first axe card in the
Is
game.
it not?
No, there is another. Well, I'm not including the hatchets with this. There is already a two-handed axe in Fab.
Go on, then.
No, you're the man who knows all the cards, George.
Hold on a minute. You know that Hexagore is a flail, but can't name the other axe, George?
Not off the top of my head, not right now. Why?
You must be ravenous.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, that's true. That is true. There is the meat axe.
Yes, there is the ravenous meat axe.
But name me any. To be fair, I did say axe support. Name me a support card specifically designed for ravenous meat axe.
Yes, there is. There is. I mean,
show me the buff that buffs ravenous meat axe.
Sure. Well, fuck it. Let them have Spilled Blood because it's not going to work. that only gives +2, so it still doesn't even get you to near half the double its base. You have to play Spill Blood and Sharpen Steel and this.
Imagine this.
It's so bad.
Imagine playing this axe and Helm of Sharp Eye. Oh, now
at least if you do one, you could trigger the other. Unfortunately, your deck's got to be 90% fucking action cards, so it's going to be shit as can be.
Yeah, when you're really hoping for that fucking, because it's going to have to be blue. It's going to be shit. Although the dream of the overpowering and overpowered axe swing, that's going to cost you a fucking fortune. / be impossible. Yes.
It's 2 blues, isn't it? So then you're probably using a blue overpower because your deck's full of sudden blues. So
they could already block with everything because overpower's an attack reaction.
It is, so and they could have already blocked.
Yeah, so you're fucked. I mean, obviously it does stop the. If they have blocked with one card, they then do the Art of War defensive card out of Arsenal, I suppose, because obviously everyone chooses that mode. But yeah, it's just a bad card. They're going to have to give it so much support to make it viable. But, and I will take the point that Liam said earlier when we were chatting, that Marvel is very pretty.
Yeah, I do like the look of the kind of the. I mean, we've seen it twice now with Crown of Dominion as well, with this black background to the card. I do like that a lot. I'm not quite sure why the fact that it's already in Marvel, why they didn't give us like a full art version.
I think it's purely because there's so much bloody text on it.
Yeah, quite possibly. Let's just skip that and have made it a decent rate axe.
Yeah, I mean that'd have been the ideal, right? Actually, just make it good.
Yeah, I would have been all right. I'd have been down for that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I know I said it earlier on the Manchester Discord that it seems like Warrior seems to get a lot of goes very sideways in that. Here's some 2-handed axes. Here's 1-handed. Here's it just basically we're not seeming to get any stronger. It seems to be a lot more side grades.
That's too big.
Do you know what?
That's why.
George, actually, let's get rid of Crown of Seeds because I don't want him to be able to play Oldhim ever again.
To be fair, you can do it all back to him. You can tell it to cry a river then because
Brooks, you said this. I said they should have banned it. Like Crown of Seeds should not exist. Why?
Just ban Oldhim.
Ban him. It's fine. Play someone else.
It makes me sad that you don't bite.
Honestly, like you'd be fucked if they fucking got rid of Dawnblade. I don't think you'd play Fab anymore.
I would.
He plays Dromai every now and then.
Only when he brings it by accident.
He does.
And it was. I also played Dash. I enjoyed Control Dash.
You did back yourself into a corner though on Tuesday where you forgot to bring Dory with you.
Yeah, I did. That again. Head was all over the show. You pick up your deck box and go, "Why is the draw that's got Dorinthia in it got a Prism deck in it?" And I remembered I put it in there for Blitz. And the reason I'd left in Dromai was because I had the other equipment I needed. I was just being lazy.
Have you now replaced her into her rightful place in the deck box? Is the question.
Yes, I have.
Good to hear.
She's returned to her rightful place in the top drawer. But yeah. Well, gents, I think we've covered off everything we were going to say for this evening. Unless there's anything either of you would like to add to the proceedings.
No, we've covered your excitement for the Merciless Battle Axe, so I think all is well.
Yeah.
Honestly, as bad as it sounds, I actually want more Warrior spoilers that are bad, just so I can sit here and laugh at Brooks for each year. Like Blade Runner.
Like my life isn't bad enough at the moment that my friends just want to laugh at me.
I didn't say nothing, but I'm not going to say it wouldn't be funny.
I mean, it'd keep me awake. Jesus.
Look, I'd love to see really that this battle axe actually turned out to be great, and we could all look fucking stupid. But maybe it'll turn out good. Who knows? Maybe they'll put all the support in the world in for it, and then Brooks can be pissed off that his Dawn Blade got nothing.
I mean, I'll be pissed off at that anyway. But I think if they give it enough support, fine. But I don't know how they're going to create like a 6-pitch card. You know, it's a bit like Blood of Jakar. If you pitch this one, every time you pitch it, it reduces the cost for the rest of the game until it becomes free.
fucking blue pitch of also with the text of reduce the next axe swing by 3.
By 3. Mate,
that's all he wants. It's all he wants. That's it.
Mate, that'd make it viable, mate. Not saying it's going to make it fucking good.
Oh, he don't want much, does he? Bloody hell.
No, I mean, give me attack reactions and on hits. No, I'm going to give you a fucking axe that's 3 for 3. Is that the worst? Is that the worst rate on a weapon in the game?
I mean, I have to pick 4 for 3 wins well. You know, it's only one below that.
I'd make the argument that 0 for 0 on Raiden's probably the worst rate.
Well, still at least it popped a Spectra for free.
That's true, actually. Yeah, maybe you're right.
It had a redeeming factor. You had to charge to get any attack on it, but at least it popped a Spectra at the end of everything.
In Titan,
whereas this is just
Titan's Fist is 3 for 3, right?
Yeah.
And then if you've got like a blue it's a 3, and then he gets a buff.
It does. It's a 3 plus a buff. But at least you can get the buff. This doesn't give you any innate buff at all.
No, this gets shit dominate. But it is a new keyword, so I guess we can get at least slightly excited about. I assume overpower is going to be something that appears on other cards.
Yeah, I think the most excited people in the Manchester Discord were the brute players at the possibility they might get some overpower cards in the future.
Yeah,
and still not get found a lot.
Well then, gents, if that's the case, I think we're all good for this evening. And thank you very much, gents. And for anyone who's actually still listening, thank you very much. And we shall catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.